This is going to be the first episode of Deconstruction, Reconstruction, or something. Title pending, who cares? What I want to do is take elements that exist, people can ask about them, and if I am so inclined and available, not busy or not booked on other jobs, I'd love to take them apart and put them back together and kind of show how they were made. So someone asked about this transition for this video. And they said, how do they do this? Are they using masks or mats? No, I just said, I think you're overthinking this because it's way easier than you're making it sound like. So we're gonna go and do something like this. I would just call this a layer stack transition, or even just maybe a title card reveal, because this is all a title card. There's no real transition going on other than this title card is animating from being on and showing what it is to animating off. So we're going to jump in After Effects, and I've downloaded the file. I'm going to drag it into a composition, and we can go through this a little bit more frame by frame. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to just trim the work area to just these few seconds that we're actually working with. Alright, so going slow, we've got this full screen thing. Pretty much every image is a different scale, size, treatment to their logo. And it's pretty, I don't want to say basic in an insulting way, but it's pretty basic, it's pretty simple. There's not much going on here, and I'm willing to bet that we can just make a few keyframes and it's going to look exactly the same. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a white solid. We're going to make, oh, we'll turn it off. We'll borrow their colors for now, but I think I'll just switch them. Another color, the red, or the primary color, I'd call this one. And then this darker gray or black one. Alright, so we are going to start with a colored one so we can see it, and we're going to change the color of it by just adding a hue saturation and just shifting it a little bit to, sure, this goldenrod color. Okay, so one thing you can do is lower the opacity, but these are, I say simple and basic because it's pretty much, they made 1920 by 1080 or whatever full HD size solids, and they're just animating them from being on to off. So we have our solid in the middle. It's already in the middle, you can see it right here, and it's going to go from like here on, and then it's going to animate back off. That's all that this whole animation is doing. So we're just going to set some keyframes. This is on. This is off. I'm willing to bet that they even went like this and not much further. I like to go a little further in case there's a little bit of a overhang or something. On. And once you have the video downloaded, it's much easier to just like totally steal it, I guess you could say. Like the exact timings, you have the frame rate that it was, and you can get pretty precise little ideas of where their things go. So what we're looking for is when this red bar hits the far right, and it's about here. So we'll just say this here. Okay? And now what we need to do, we can turn ours up and just ignore everything else, just focus on the red and our yellow. So if we play this, we can see that it doesn't line up perfectly, but we're also just using linear keyframes. On this particular project, they have easing on both sides. I can't use my easing button because it is the recording button. This is just simple easy ease. It's also the same as keyframe assistant easy ease. And this starts to get a little bit more of that, whatever you want to call that. I don't know what you'd call that. The diminishing speed before it hits it. And then from here, you can adjust the speed of it on this graph if you'd like. And this is where you can probably go in and just get exactly what they had. And if you want to get mathematical about it, you can see it's like maybe a 45 is what they had if they used this. Who knows what they used, but that's my guess. But they probably just did it by dragging this. I don't prefer to drag these speed frames. I prefer to work in my value graph. But the X and Y are constrained and you can't quite get Beziers as easy as you can in some programs. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to go and lower the opacity again, and we're going to animate this frames off. We're going to extend our time. We can see the red. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, they probably just animate the red to keep going to the right, so it doesn't stop full frame. It stops here. This is the left side of it. So let's get back to our this button, and in time we're going to copy this keyframe, go forward when everything is resting, paste the keyframe, and now we're going to adjust both of them by selecting both of them, and I'm just going to slide this over to here. Okay. And now that will change this timing because it's scooting all the way across and not stopping right in the middle. So maybe I will just put this back in the middle at... Oops, I'm not at 1920 by 1080. Full on, stays, and then you just go to the frame where it's going to start to leave. So this is a hold frame. You can make this toggle hold keyframe, and it's going to hold this, and then it's going to animate off to about this much time. But really all it does is go back to the center, which is this keyframe. And if we turn up our opacity, let's hide our video. This is pretty much what it is. It's just one card, and then we're going to duplicate it and apply these keyframes to the other layers. Select them all, copy paste, turn them on, turn them on. Okay, and it goes to black because everything is hidden, and now they're all stacked. They have the exact same timing, which is not what we want, because then you don't see any difference. They're all here. So what you need to start doing is offsetting them in time. If we turn back our little layer here, I'm going to lower all of our layers. We're just going to work on what we see here. Okay. And this is just like, this is almost rotoscoping someone's animation, which is not the best thing to do. But it's good for learning. Alright, one thing that you can look at, and this isn't how I would really build it, it's just how it is. So the end keyframe of the black, you can see it scoots all the way over, and it stops about here. Well, pretty much on this keyframe. So our black is going to be very similar. Oh, this might not even be offset in time. They just pulled out the keyframes here. Right here. I'm gonna slide this over here to delete that one keyframe. Okay, and so this is lined up where the red was, you can see. I'm just going to select these two keyframes, the hold keyframe and this other one, and we're going to slide it all the way over to the about where the black is. And it's going to hold. If we use this as a guide, these are the animation away on our red layer, and this is the animation away on our black layer. And everything seems like it animates away at the same time. So we have those ones done, and now we're just going to focus on the white. The white is different because the white is up the whole time. So we can start with this keyframe where it's in the center, and then it just scoots. It's possible that there's another background layer, or that this was even scaled up, perhaps. But it doesn't matter because we're doing it our way. So I'm going to drag all of these keyframes, actually just these two, the hold keyframes, and I'm going to slide them until they're in the middle. Okay. Alright. So now we need to put a little bit of text or something. Well, we don't need to. We'll just see what we have here. So we've got the first part of it, ish. And this is like deconstructing. If you're actually doing it forward, like for yourself, it'd be simpler, is my guess. So what I want to do is get all these lined up. Just so it's a little bit smoother. Okay. So that's the front part of it. And then everything else is kind of just, I would call it track mats or luma mats or just a bunch of different things. So we'll do something like this. This looks like impact font. Like all good sports stuff, you need to use a really strong font. Not really. We're going to swap it so it's just a stroke. And we're going to 150, but we're going to oversize it. And this is going to go on our red layer. We're going to lower the opacity. And I want to see if we can use this effect called Set Matte. Set Matte. What that does is it uses the alpha channel of a different layer. So we're going to use our red layer. Invert. But the problem with this is usually it doesn't actually, what's the word? Respect what you're doing? That's not the word. It's just what it doesn't do. 500. Yeah, something like this. Okay, so we have our layer. Red layer and our text, and I'm going to make the red layer actually red so it's not confusing anymore. Okay, set matte, pause over, stretch different, Invert matte. Okay, set matte is not working because our layer is extending beyond and it just doesn't work great that way. So we'll turn it off and we can use something else called a track matte, where it only renders the text where there's something below it, if that makes sense. So we'll reveal this. So the track matte is one way to do that. The only problem with the track matte is if you have the white layer underneath it, you would technically end up with this white text on. Well, you technically end up with the text on the white layer because the white layer is also an alpha channel underneath it. So I don't think that's the way to do it either. What I want to do is use something like an alpha matte, but I want it to be visible. And really what we do is we change 1 to a matte. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to put this on top of here. Put this one you don't want to see. And now, whoops. Now we have our matte that works, and if we change the color of it, nope, change the color of the words to anything else, it will only show up on where the red layer is. So this might be confusing because this is a deconstruction and not a forward thing talking about what we're trying to actually make, but that's okay. So start getting confusing with everything stacked together. What I recommend doing is removing keyframes from mattes that are just duplicates of whatever they're referencing. So what I mean is get rid of keyframes on the matte and just link this to our original red solid. And now we have the exact same effect without any fighting or anything like that. Okay, so we're going to take these words again and copy them. It doesn't need a track matte because this is going to be on the lowest layer of it. Simulate a logo or something, who knows, whatever. Okay, so now I can cover that up. This can be whatever size. On theirs it's much larger, big and black. So let's do that with ours. And I just recommend like going piece by piece. So before we had layers of the solids, and now we're just going to work on the one solid and the one text. Like those are pieces together. So let's put this at 750, like totally gigantic like theirs is. Okay, and let's bring back our red. Okay, and then they add their black. Oops, I turned on the matte. You want to leave the matte invisible, otherwise you end up seeing it on top of whatever it's being used as a matte for. And this, I think, we'll just copy, paste this on here, put this down to 100, and maybe 150, make it white, and make it brighter, and we'll fill it in. Okay, and we will link this to here. Okay, so now we have this first part kind of done-ish. I wouldn't call it complete. It's not one for one, but it's a good start. Let's start using the solo thing so we can just see this. Alright, so now we can talk about some of the other animations that are going on. I don't honestly think that the text that was on here, or the logo, or whatever they're animating, is linked to the layer. There's a little bit of a sliding going on, so I think they're just keyframed to go across. So we can do that to our pieces too. We can do that by grabbing this. I'm going to go over to here, and we can just make like a little soft floating animation. And you just kind of end up doing that for all of your stuff. Drop a keyframe, Alt-Shift-P, whatever it is on a Mac, I don't know and I don't care. Because I will not be using that. I will be using my craptacular machine that's lasted this many years. Okay, so we got some subtle animation going on there. One thing you want to be aware of is breaking links in time. So I put this transitions thing, transitions, that's not really what we want to be saying with this thing, I don't think. Transitions. Oh, whatever. Who cares? We're just going to do this. Realign center center. Okay, so if we break the link on this keyframe, put none, it will just be stuck there, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to break the link where it's perfectly in the middle. I'm going to hit none, and let's look at their thing. Look what they did. They're using the black, their top layer, the dark gray, as the reveal mat for their logo. First, we're going to animate our logo. We can even just, here we go. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to drop my scale. I'm just going to, here we can do this. Okay, so center to center. We'll do that because we don't have a little lower thing here. Okay. So I'm going to drop another keyframe. I like to drop keyframes where I want them. Like where an object is in time, and then back up and then hide it. So I think, honestly, this dropped keyframe, we can just copy and paste it. And then this is like fitting into this little 4x3 squarish over here, and then it just jumps up to a bigger, different thing, a bigger, different font, a bigger, different position. Okay, so I dropped a scale and I dropped another position, and now I got the frame like where it's not moving from this part, and it hasn't started scaling. And I'm going to put 2 more frames right here. These I'm going to make easy ease. Easy ease. I don't know why it won't make them easy ease. I need to rebind my keyboard. Easy ease. Here we go. Alright, and now this is going to go here. And you can use your align tool inside of this transition thing, which is really kind of great. So it's aligned perfectly in the middle now that we have our full frame, and we'll say that this goes to 150. The reason it's scaling like this is because the anchor point is on the left. It is a left justified text. So if we switch it to center, you'll see that everything is wrong. You'll be like, oh no, I just screwed it up, I gotta go and do everything again. But really you don't. Just grab all of your position information, drag a box, or you can select position and you have them all. And as long as you are on a keyframe, you can kind of just scoot stuff where it needs to be. You can't align it because that will align every keyframe to that, but you can see that it is now doing what we want. Okay, let's make this. I want to see if this will. I don't know why this is not working right now. Easy. Okay. Boop. Alright, so just like before, we're going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to press U. I'm going to delete the position keyframes. I'm going to link this to our original one, put it above here, and use alpha matte. And now, what the fuck? Let me turn off our soloed layers. There. I was just seeing down to the base of it, pretty much. So now, let's see what we have. Transitions! Whoa! And these are duplicated keyframes. They're not finesse. They're not beautiful. They're not gorgeous. They're kind of gross, honestly. Cool. Let's make this a little bit more. I don't know. I like 75. Okay. So you can see how it's static right here, and it's still not moving. Just make it move the whole time. It'll be all right. Yeah, alright, we're doing it. Alright, we're back to their version. Maybe I should change the color of their version. Okay. It goes to CrossFit Journal, and then it all goes away. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's a fourth white layer in the background. So our white layer right here, we are not going to let it end up resting where it's resting. It should have carried on, but that's fine. Does that make sense? Who knows? It would be further to the right, is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna do that because right now we have it stopping on the left side, and that's not wonderful. But maybe we can leave it. Okay. Let's just leave it. So now what we're doing, we're going to look at the original reference layer. We're going to look at the last frame where everything is solid. And we're just going to kind of focus on the background. Ignore the letter animations, because those will deceive you. We're going to be looking right here. You can see red is starting to peek through. And you could even go one frame before, and this is just copying the keyframes. You don't always want to copy the keyframes, but sometimes you do just want to copy keyframes, and that's what we're doing here. So we're going to take our original 3 layers: white, red, dark gray. Press P. We can see our keyframes. If your stuff is starting to look messy, you don't know what's going on, you can press U to close things. You can deselect and press U to close everything. You can re-grab your layers, press U to see what's animated, but we're just going to drop another keyframe, and then we're going to pull these 3 layers back. Alright, so this is where the red one hits. Hey. We're just going to kind of take it layer by layer. I'm going to hold Control, it'll snap edge to edge. We'll just leave it edge to edge for now. Alright, and I'm going to solo again. We're going to go and look when the black is all the way off. Page down, we'll just do one more frame right about here. Alright, and we'll unsolo, we have the gray. We're just going to move it over and snap it. I'm holding Control so it snaps to the edge. And then we have our white layer. Which is gone about by here. Alright, I'm going to select our white layer. Get it off by then. Okay, so now we have different timing, but that's okay. We're just going to deal with that now. We're going to turn this off. We can, let's duplicate this. Turn it on, solo it. Let's go forward in time. Let's go to this, and let's just do a freeze frame. Do this. Okay, so no matter what, this is on the very bottom of the stack. So when our layers animate away, there will always be, there we go, this little thing, this one frame. We're not going to use video, we'll just leave it for now. Okay. Okay, so what we've got here is the text is now over top. It's always been over top for the white layer. So again, this is going to be another duplicate the layer, alpha matte, delete the keyframes, link it to the original reference, and now we don't have that crap anymore. There you go. So that's really close to what they have. And if we look at theirs, let's turn it on. I'm going to put this behind our still. Let's rename this. Still name. Still frame from video, pardon me. Alright, so focus on their white layer. You can see how it starts to move, and if you just look at the crack from the edge of the screen and how it stays there for so long, and then it like swipes in the middle really, really fast. That's what happens when you are like in speed graph and you pull your tangents all the way to 100 influence. And this influence number is the same thing that's available right here, but I prefer to just be able to type it in without having to go into a different graph and pull something. So now let's see what ours is. I'm guessing that this is what they use. They use something like a 100. Maybe not a 100. Okay, so we will exit out of graph view, and I'm going to use my tool because it's much more convenient. I'm going to lock, and I'm going to do like a 90 or something like that. Just focus on the end. Okay, and I'm going to bring up theirs. Well, theirs might even be a 100. But pretty much what this means is that this keyframe influences over time how much it can, and then that's why it's really dangerous to get into this view, because right here it is moving so fast because it has to cover from this side to this side, but it's influenced by 100% for so much time. Like, there's only this little tiny section of keyframes where it's allowed to even do the real bulk of the movement, so it ends up really fast. And I think it looks like trash, but some people love that look. I think it's very cliche and too basic. So I prefer something more mellow. It only goes from 0 to 100. And these don't have to be locked, they can be individuals. There you go. Something a little bit smoother in my opinion. But again, getting out of that graph view is sometimes good. So get this Duic plugin. You can grab a keyframe. You can even separate them. You can press get. You can see that one ended up at 53 point something something. But you can apply this to specific keyframes. You can set this red one to the same thing. You can set this first dark gray one. And you'll see how that kind of changed these keyframes. But they're all uniform, like the resting rate of them is uniform. The only thing that's not uniform is their spacing in time. And if you want to get those perfect, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do stuff like that, like you can just time it out. And another reason why it's not matching is because this first keyframe. So if you do get, you'll see that the out keyframe is 100 on the original one, and on this one, if we do get, you'll see that it's only 33. So it's going to end up a very, very different effect. And it's just if you like that stepping motion, or if you want them more symmetrical, more uniform, or whatever. Okay. Let's talk about their overlapping animation that they have, or I guess it would be like technically anticipation animation. So it springs up and then it flies off. It just flies off. Let's pull up our keyframes with U for our transitions. That's like our fake logo. And it's about here, I think. Yep, center, and then we'll just go to here, and we're gonna animate it off. Okay, this is a good time to show when you don't want to use the easy ease. So we want it to look like it's shooting off, but really it looks like it's kind of actually it's in the wrong spot. So it's in the center of this gray frame, and it really needs to just end up back in the center of the gray frame, which is this red box. They're all red, they're all perfect that way, but it'll still show the problem where it can kind of start to slow down. So just make it a linear keyframe, and I think it will make it a little bit better looking. Make this one linear too. Okay, so let's watch the whole thing again. Let me add a little bit of time to the end because I don't like it to be moving constantly the whole time. So again, this is not really a transition. This is more of a title card reveal, I would call it. One thing that I don't like is that there isn't anticipation, and that's what I would add to this. And what anticipation is like it gives your eye a clue as to what is going to move by moving it, or just helping ease your eye into where it should look, or like what's going to be happening next, so they're ready for it, they can anticipate it. And here it's kind of just like the text moves off and it pulls everything off, and that's fine. But I think it would look better if you pull the text back and then you shoot it forward. So it's like a pinball spring release thing. And these are kind of easy to do, and they're nice. They add a lot of flavor. You don't have to do much. So what I will do is say what I'll do. This is the video's keyframe about where this event happened. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to paste the exact same keyframe. And then I'm going to go to the original keyframe, and I'm just going to move it to the right a little bit. Okay, and now what this is going to do, you will see. Okay, so you can kind of see it, but that's way too fast. And the other problem with it is that this white is coming in, or the other layers, before they can actually register that it's supposed to be affecting the rest of the scene, you know? So I want to move this earlier in time, and I want to get out of the value, or get out of speed, look at value. Look at this. You can see that it barely moves. It only goes a few pixels. But I want to make this extend a little bit more. Just a little bit more. By locking, and I do something like this. I prefer 75. I'm going to make it more dramatic so you can see it. There you go. So now it's like pulling that away. It's getting you ready for it. And it's pulling it away. So that's a tiny bit of transition, or of anticipation, which is important. Let's look back at their thing. And when their stuff goes away, like they kind of have it with the journal sliding away, which is good, but I think some of the back would be good, and then this little drag box getting bigger. I don't think it moves fast enough for that to happen. These are just these word elements again, scooting to the other side. So that's our transition word, transition word, transition word. First, let's close everything so it's not so crazy looking. We're going to do our red transition and our white transition word. And these just end up scooting left a little bit or something, who knows. And if you want it fast, just make it fast. Like speed up this. Actually, this is just copying the original thing, so it starts moving and it's really slow, but really it doesn't need to start moving until right about here. Copy paste, copy paste. Nope, that's not what we want. I don't know why I did that. Okay. We got this word. We can make this look like it goes more. We make this look like it goes more. This is the... If you're ever confused, just turn it on and off. This is the stacked one. If you want this to go faster, you can have it get to the end faster by shortening this up. But then you got to make sure it doesn't stick and hold. So let's keep this off. I think I'll keep this in time, but scoot it over more. And all of this can be cleaned up and refined to no end, but this is kind of the gist of it. Like our stacking is not quite good, I'd say. So on the red, we're gonna make this where it's held. I'm gonna make this in the middle of those two things, just by dragging our hold frame and the other one, and it might look a little bit better. I'm not even sure why this would be red if they're using purple on their other stuff, but whatever, who cares? Who really cares? And then you could put whatever video you want in the background. You could have it be, what you could do is link all the words. So if you change the words on one of these objects, it changes all the words on all these little secondary graphic things as well. You could do a lot of different things. The logo, you just swap that in and change it. So we remade the logo with just shape layers and text layers, and talked a little bit about alpha mats and talked a little bit about some other stuff. Yeah, send stuff that you want to be copied, reproduced, redone, and we'll make some stuff. It'll be great. Hope you learned something.